What is a good sign that an NDA is illegal?
Sure. Well, NDA means a non-disclosure agreement. And they are used all the time in corporate America, from your pre-employment agreement, walking in, to confidentiality things you have to sign while you work. It's in your severance agreements, often in a settlement agreement. So going back to 1988, when we actually challenged that for the first time ever, and we won the case. It was a big battle, a couple of years. And non-disclosure agreements that restricted the ability of a worker to report information to law enforcement, federal or state regulatory agencies, were found unenforceable and illegal. So that's kind of the cutting edge there. It's like that's your best shot at killing an NDA. Does it restrict your rights to report wrongdoing? Now, since that very first case, other things have happened that have expanded the ability to knock out non-disclosures. So first off, Congress, as part of Sarbanes-Oxley, passed the obstruction of justice law, which makes it a felony to obstruct any person from reporting a possible crime to federal law enforcement. So how can a contractual silencing agreement be, it's an obstruction of justice if it's preventing you from going to law enforcement to prevent a possible crime? That adds power to the prior precedent. The SEC and commodities passed their own rules prohibiting these, all consistent. The SEC has taken numerous enforcement actions against companies and have expanded the prohibition. So it's not just a direct prohibition of going to the government, but issues like, do you have to tell the company that you're going to the government? That's out. Others were like, oh, you can go to the government, but you can't collect an award. That's out. That's been found illegal. So essentially, and here's the best part, the SEC and commodities consider a non-disclosure agreement that restricts your right to go to the government as a separate violation of law, and they can sanction companies for that alone. So if I see a restrictive NDA, I like it. It's great. I include it in my charge. It's evidence of cover-up, it's evidence of motive, but it's a violation.
How might an NDA violate public policy?
Well, that's the essence of the whole thing. When we challenged the first NDA in a whistleblower case back in 1988, we looked at public policy, which was part of the common law. And public policy said that the people must have a right to report wrongdoing. There's a case from the 1800s where this US Supreme Court unanimously said that the right to report wrongdoing was at the foundation of all democratic institutions itself. And if you think about it, how can you even have a democracy if you can't report people violating the law? That's like the end of the rule of law. That's terrible. Then it can take you all the way back. We didn't know it at the time. I would have cited to it, but to that first whistleblower case, where these whistleblowers who were Marines, they were violating the chain of command of the Navy. They willful violation of that. Yet they made the reports and were fully protected. Because if you think about it, if you can't report crimes, you live in a society that is moving towards totalitarianism and fascism. And to me, Jewish heritage, I always imagine if I'm looking out my window and I see some Jewish person like I'm in Germany being beaten up on the street, and I can't report that, the whole society falls apart.